we can all get to that point where we're like trying too hard to get it to the finish line, and bad things can happen, or just you can cause some issues. So we're going to kind of go through some of that.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Liz Boisvert. I'm here in Independence, Oregon. I'm filling in for Jeff today. Jeff and Lexi, for those of you who don't know, are in Iceland. How amazing is that? Today we have Craig McHugh, who's from Colorado Springs. He's our Colorado partner. He and his wife are amazing, wonderful people that I've had the pleasure of meeting in person. And they're as genuine as you see on the screen, just really, really nice people. They've been in real estate since 2016, I believe. They've been with EXP since 2022, and we're just really, really lucky to have them as our Colorado partners. And you'll see why here in a bit. Craig has actually done Core 90 before. He is, a huge part of the community and what we do here. And so it's a pleasure to see you again, Craig.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And
Happy.
it's always great. This as much as this is always makes you anxious, it also really helps you sort of sharpen the saw for myself, especially. I love teaching. I do it frequently through a program we have through our office called Launch. And it's always great. It's funny because for me, this sort of next levels teaching, doing it online, because I'm so used to being in front of a class that when you're not, it's like this like different vibe, but it's great. And you guys are all great, and I appreciate you being here. I hope the name that we chose for this, trying to cure commission breath, got your attention, because it's a term that I use a lot with my new agents, and it's funny in a way, but you'll see it also has some ramifications of making sure, like, especially our newer agents, but even our existing agents, we can all get to that point where we're like trying too hard to get it to the finish line, and bad things can happen, or just you can cause some issues. So we're going to kind of go through some of that. So let's jump in. I have even prepared. Last time I just talked for, I think, like 17 hours straight, and you all were kind enough to hang in. This time I made a slideshow. I next leveled it. So let me get that started, and
Let's do this.
all right, let's do it.
Show us how to not smell salesy.
Yeah. All right. Y'all seeing that? You
Yes,
seeing my?
we are.
All right, perfect. So, how to cure commission breath. This is, again, funny, but funny, not funny. It does have ramifications for us as agents, trying to make sure that we are acting in a certain way at all times, and trying not to come off as completely desperate to our clients or our colleagues. So let's jump in here. About Kelly and I. Craig and Kelly McHugh from Colorado Springs. Liz said that earlier. Kelly and I have been together for 37 years. She was clearly a child bride. And so, yeah, but been together, been married 32 years, 37 together. So, and she's amazing. We started real estate in 2016 after 18 years in technology. I started my first business in 1989. It was a tech company. I actually started two tech companies in 2002. We were lucky to be able to sell those two, and took off for 12 years and lived in an RV and started a farm and raised our kids, and then got back into real estate in 2016. And I have one's my son is a full-time musician. He's actually touring right now, and with a band. His name is Briston Maroney, and he's coming to a town near you soon. My daughter is a senior. She graduates this year. And she's studying graphic design and marketing. I'm working again because now I work for tuition. So a lot of you probably know what that's all about. So that's my reason for being in real estate again. Um, I was a broker owner, started out at a great brokerage, moved over to another great independent brokerage. We had 180 agents. We did $1 billion in sales. It was our best year ever. It was great. Loved it. Great people, great relationships. Got introduced to the EXP model about a little, almost 2 years ago. Yeah, probably almost exactly 2 years ago by Scott and Jeff and Joe and John. And I sort of was charged from the partners to like go out and figure out how to beat this EXP thing. So we have talking points, and that was my job. Go figure out how to like tell everybody why you shouldn't go to EXP. And I spent 6 months doing that. And at the end of the 6 months, I walked into a partner meeting and said, "I'm going to EXP. It's not a scam. It's the real deal, and I'm going over there now." Which didn't go over well, but I love it here. I love being a part of the community. I just everything about it I like, and I'm hoping y'all are liking it as well. So moved to EXP 2 years ago. I started at my old brokerage a program called Launch. And it's interesting because when I got into real estate, the brokerage I joined a mentorship program. It was great. I learned a lot. It was a 2 year mentorship program. It cost me $152,000 in splits over that 2 years to essentially learn how to do this business. And at the end, I was like, I think I can do better than that. So when I moved to my new brokerage, I started this training program called Launch. I've trained over 60 agents. Some of them are, most of them are doing really well now. And it's just sort of fell in love with teaching. So that's sort of what turns my crank right now in real estate, probably more than anything. I mean, obviously, we're still both production agents, but we love doing our launch classes and teaching new agents how to go from a new agent to a great agent. Um, Again, I'm used to working in a classroom environment, so this is always weird for me because it's you don't get that you know back and forth. So this class is interactive, folks. Like if you have questions, if you I'm used to teaching in a classroom settings. Please don't be shy. If you have a question, there are no dumb questions. Nobody here is going to judge you. You feel free to interrupt me. If you disagree with a point I make, or you have examples or a different opinion, speak up. That's how we're going to learn here. We all can learn from each other. This doesn't have to be a one-way conversation. I really actually appreciate y'all, and we'll do a little role playing as well once we get into it, just on some of that. So, any questions? Anybody got anything before we get started?
No, but I would love to encourage everyone to turn their cameras on. So I would love to see smiling faces, and I'm sure Craig would too. It just makes it feel more real, and I encourage that. Come on, guys, turn your cameras on.
It
Craig
does
would
help.
probably prefer all the mics were unmuted, people
Ah,
talking over each other, arguing with one another, voicing opinions. So
yes. Steve was
let
on
him
my
have it.
team for several years and went through has been through my launch classes and sits in on them. And yeah, we have very spirited conversations about all the fun things that happen in real estate. Right, Steve?
Like, what were you thinking?
Uh-huh. And sometimes that's directed at me. So let's talk about commission breath. So I'm a visual learner. I'll describe what commission breath is and how to cure it, but I'd much rather show you. So I'm going to play you a clip from arguably the best How to Master Sales movie of all times. And I know you all are thinking about what that is. So here it is without further ado. Tommy Boy is one of my all-time favorite how to be a great salesperson movies. And there's a scene from it that actually on my first day of every one of my launch classes I play, because every agent is, especially, this is the ultimate example of commission breath, but every agent is going to go have this moment, especially as a new agent. So let's see if we can get this to play for us.
Helen.
That's nice. You look like a Helen.
Helen, we're both in sales.
Let me tell you why I suck as a salesman. Let's say I go into some guy's office. Let's say he's even remotely interested in buying something. Well, then I get all excited. I'm like, Jojo, the idiot circus boy with a pretty new pet. The pet is my possible sale. Oh, my pretty little pet. I love you. So I stroke it, and I pet it, and I massage it. Yeah, I love it. I love my little naughty pet. You're naughty. And then I take my naughty pet and I go. Oh! I killed it! killed my sale. That's when I blow it. That's when people like us have got to forge ahead, Helen. Am I right?
God, you're sick. Helen.
That's nice.
So yeah, a true classic of, and we've all been there. That's really kind of the genesis of commission breath. We've all been there. Like, man, I got my first sale. All right. It's been. I mean, this year, let's face it, there's been some long, lean months. So it's like, oh, phone rang. Oh, I got a client. How do we not like, you're naughty. How do we not fall into that trap of getting through commission breath? So what is commission breath? Being so worried of getting your transaction to the close, you create distrust or unease with your client. And some of the stuff we're going to talk about gets a little bit heady, sort of trying to understand how this all works and trying to, be cool and collected at all times. But really creating a strange vibe with your client or pushing them in ways that makes them uneasy. I mean, those are things that we're going to discuss. Acting in a way that inadvertently telegraphs to other agents you're desperate to close. So if you're a new agent, man, you can give away really quick to another agent. I know for me, we'll talk more about this. For me, especially I'm now more on the listing side agent. When another agent is just acting, like they have commission breath, man, good seasoned agents can use that. We can use that to our advantage and your disadvantage, and you may not even know it ever happened. So really, we're gonna dig into that a little bit, and I'd love some of our more seasoned agents to talk, to chime in on that as well. But not giving away or changing what I call the balance of power, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Pushing your partners and vendors to do things they are not comfortable with, so you can get to a close. By pushing your title people, pushing your escrow people, pushing your inspectors, pushing the trades, doing things, like, no, we're not, not doing that, or pushing them in ways that make it uncomfortable for your partners in this job is something that is a big no-no for me, especially for my new agents. A lot of times newer agents just look at the people and their subs and the people that they work with, that they surround themselves with as just like, a body and necessary. I have 10 inspectors, I have 10 title people or escrow people. You have the best ones that you work with, and those people get you to the finish line. Your job is to just not do dumb stuff and let them do their job with excellence. So, not doing things that create distrust or stress on your partners. And then really the big issue with commission breath is creating situations that require intervention of your managing brokers, or worse, the real estate commission. And we're going to talk about that as well. I mean, of all the things of saying commission breath, is and having that sort of desperate nature, that last one there is very real. Can end your career, can end your relationship with your brokerage or your managing broker. So, we're gonna have fun with this, but also understand too that there are things you can do that can kill your career by acting in ways that aren't putting the public in the best interest. So, any questions so far? Feel free to jump in if you have anything. And I'm not seeing.
I can't wait for this because I'm become an expert listener when I'm in the middle of a transaction, and I really listen to what the other agent is putting out, because there's even, let alone the small subtleties, sometimes they just spell it right out for you how
Oh yeah.
desperate the other side is. And if you
Or they are.
yeah, or they are, right? You should never put
Yeah.
yourselves before your clients. And sometimes, that happens unfortunately more often than not.
Yeah, and we're going to talk more about this, but one of the things I spent a lot of time, and as a new agent, if you're a newer agent, it's well, I'll talk more about it, but this balance of power that happens, and when you're new, it's like you don't notice it. It's not even on your radar. Once you get to a certain stage, either because you've put yourself in that situation and acted a way that caused that, or that other agent is acting that way, man, once you see it. It is so powerful, and it's just almost imperceptible, but it is so powerful once you understand it. So, all right. So my first transaction that I ever got under contract fell all apart, went all in the toilet. And I've been working, it took me 6 months. I had knocked on 1,200 doors, and I finally got a deal put together. And it was going along fine, and then it all just went in the toilet. And I remember sitting in my managing broker's office, great guy, name's Dean Weissman at the Platinum Group, love the guy. And I'm sitting there and I'm just crying in my coffee. And he looks me right in the eye and he said, I'm going to give you the answer to this. So, you know, before we go any further, before we have to, it's for all of you that can't wait till the end for the answer. I'm going to give you the answer. I'm going to give you the cure for commission breath right now so that you don't have to sit around and wait and listen to me prattle on for the next 35 minutes. So here's the answer. Having more than one transaction in your pipeline or under contract at a time cures commission breath every time. Period. If you have one deal going, if you have one transaction going and it falls apart, damn, that hurts. That stings in ways like, owie sting, ow, sting. If you have a 3 or 4 or 5 going and your pipeline's busy, you're out looking at houses, you've got a listing ready to go, you've got people under contract, it still stings, but it's like, dang it, next, I'm moving on. I have other work to do. So as new agents, when I say this, especially with my very new agents, they're just like, easy for you to say, Craig. Like, you've been doing this for a long time. You've got 10 clients right now, all in somewhere in your pipeline. That's easy for you to say. You're right. It is easy for me to say. And you're not there, but you're going to get there. And one of the things Steve will, if all the people in my organization, plus my students, they'll be like, I got one under contract. And I know Steve's listening. He can tell you what I always reply to that is.
You say it?
Go ahead.
Go get another one.
Go get another one. Because, it's like going back to my Tommy Boy reference, it's like, oh, you're my precious little like transaction, and I'm going to love you and I'm going to take care of you. And then you're going to, throw me in the trash can, when something goes wrong, so, go get another one. The biggest mistake a lot of new agents make, and actually biggest mistake a lot of agents make, is they get something under contract and they focus their full attention on it and they get to the end of the transaction. And then you're like, dang, I got nothing. I've been focusing every bit of my attention, every minute of every day on this, and I got it to the finish line. But now I'm back, and that's hard. I'm back to zero. And that roller coaster is, I think, one of the things that really starts to wear agents down. That constant of like, I'm on the top of the world. I got a closing. I'm ready to go. I'm at the bottom. It's like, dang, I got nothing. Like that takes a lot of the fun out of this gig. So, having constantly, yes, congratulations, you got it under contract. No, now go get another one. Get back to work. Go find some more work, because you know what? That one's going to it's either going to not get to the finish line or it's going to get to the finish line, and you're going to need a paycheck next month. So keep doing that. So the answer is having more than one. And when Dean said it to me, I was like super truth bomb right to the heart. But it was like, oh, but he was right, as always. So one of we're going to kind of break down those 4 things we talked about. First one is worrying your clients. So, there is something that happens, and I've been here and I've done this, worrying your clients, creating a situation where you are working so hard to get it done that your clients start to question your motives, and we don't ever want to do that. So I'm going to put in, this is the commission approved sentence here, which is, as fiduciary, we're required to promote the interests of the buyers and sellers with the utmost good faith, loyalty, and fidelity, right? That's our job. Our job is to advocate for our clients, right? And one of the things I see, and we're going to talk about kind of 2 different types of agents here. One of the things I see, though, with this is you can actually wear your clients down by overanalyzing or over worrying about things. So that said, it's also a responsibility to manage the flow of information for our clients and present them with actionable information so they can make informed decisions. And I see this a lot with new agents. Like something weird will happen and they will, before they even like have time, take the time to process it or go find their mentor or mentee or their mentor and say like, what do I do here? They just call their client and throw up all over them like, you're not going to believe what just happened. Oh my God. Yeah, the worst thing ever just happened. And your clients, they're already there. I mean, I know it gets said a lot, but like this truly is one of the most stressful things people can engage in. And one of the reasons they continue to use us and pay us is because we can buffer that stress for them. And I tell my students too, like I'm a hired gun, period. I'm here to do all the dirty work that you either don't understand or don't want to do. And if anything less than that, like I used to struggle with like I should be friends with all my clients, and I see agents, it's like I'm hanging out, I'm having cocktails with my clients, I'm at their kid's birthday party, and if you do that, that's great. But I finally had this revelation of I'm not your friend. I'm your hired friend. And I'm here for a season and I'm here to do things that you don't know how to do or don't really want to do. And once I had that just changed my whole sort of paradigm of like why I'm here and why I do my job the way I do. So don't be too hasty to share hearsay or unresolved information. Like time is a great cure-all for this job. Let things settle out. Work the problem. I always try and like if I'm going to call my client, I want to give them something actionable. Like, hey, here's what's happened. I've done some research. Here's how I think we should proceed, but I want to give you all the options so you understand it. But at the end of the day, I want to, yes, no, we're going, here's how I want you to act versus like, I'm just going to throw up all over you and then let me know if you figure it out. Like they're not paying you for that. They're paying you to be a professional and to have answers to their problems, and we'll talk some more about that. So, and then lastly, our job is to absorb stress. I'm going to say that again. Our job is to absorb stress and take it away, deflect that stress from our clients, right? And make this process as easy as possible. And there are kind of two different camps here. We're going to talk about that. But in my book, my job is to deflect all the stress, boil it down, and give my clients choices that they can manage and move forward on. So, all right.
Craig, can I interrupt for a second?
Yes, please.
I just really resonating with me what you're saying, and it reminds me of, I early on in the business, you pick your favorite escrow companies and stuff like that. And same thing with them. I mean, there was one company that would be like, OMG, we found this and that and the other thing, and I don't know if this is going to work, and we're going to work really, 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 really hard for you to make sure that we get this done because blah, 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 blah. And then the other company would go, okay, we do have a couple issues. We've already made all the phone calls. We already know how we're going to resolve it. It's not a big deal. I just wanted you to be aware because this is a process that we need to go through.
Yeah.
We can do the same thing with our clients.
Absolutely.
We have to have it kind of mapped out and strategized before we even approach them with whatever the new discovery is, right? So that's kind of what you're talking about, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And part of our job is, especially and we're going to talk about our vendors as well, but part of our job is to find those people. I've worked, there's nothing worse. I had an inspector like one time it was I think it was a 1940s house. He walks in, clients are there. He's like, oh, those plugs in the kitchen are not grounded. You will die. It's like, what? Like, shut your pie hole, man. Like, no, yeah, okay. Like, there's not dead bodies all over the place here. It's certainly not as safe as it was, but by 1940 standards, pretty darn good. It's like, then you know what? We muddled through that and like, hey, you're fired. Like, if your whole MO is to scare my clients to make you look more important, you're done. I remember I told them, you're fired. I will never use you again because of that. And I hope you learn a lesson, because your job is to lay it all out and give my clients choices and decisions, and but not to scare my people. I mean, there are times when it's just like, hey, yeah, that's scary. You shouldn't. That's bad, and I expect you to do that. But some folks, some especially inspectors, are like, everything's up. Oh, like, no, we're not doing that. You're done. So yeah, but that is, John. That was a great point.
I had a client who was buying a house on a hill, and I suggested myself that they get a civil engineer out there to look at the hill and, is it going to slide? And it's kind of a slide area, blah, blah, blah. So we get him out there and he's on the deck. He's like, yep, the next earthquake, that hill is going to be on this deck.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, okay, time out.
Right.
When is that going to be? He goes, well, we have one every 750 years, and it's been 350 years. So in 300 years, that hill is going to be on this deck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all in context, right?
Right. And we're standing there going like, you're golden. You got like, no worries.
If I can,
and they love it.
Yeah.
If I can tell a story that this rings true. I think about this all the time. One of my previous principal brokers said to me, this is what you do. Okay. If you're going in for heart surgery, imagine what your heart surgeon is like. Is he dramatic? Is he going to tell you like, this is the end of the world? Like, you're never going to make this through? No, like, you have to remove your own filters. A surgeon is going to go in, they're going to cut the problem out, and then sew you back up, and you're fine, right? Like, there's no reason to stress everyone out and give you like the worst case scenarios. So just handle it like a professional and keep your drama out of it. And it really, once I heard that, the more I really started to realize that a lot of people do that as agents.
Yes.
And really even seasoned agents, because they feel like,
and that's actually actually a great segue, because I'm going to talk about, there really are two different, I'm going to broad brush this, but in my opinion, I pretty much found there are two types of agents. So let's look at that. Two types of agents. One is the swan, right? We've all heard the story about the swan that is, gliding effortlessly across the water, but its feet are moving furiously underneath the water, right? And that I am a swan type agent. I want everyone around me to be calm, collected, nobody's stressed out, and I'm probably the most stressed out person of it all, and I never show that. So one is the swan, the other is the badger. And we all know an agent who's a badger, who just comes in hot, and they're just like, everything's a fight. Everything's going, I'm going to kill or be killed in this transaction, right? And I as soon as I think about it, like, I have 3 or 4 agents that pop into my brain that, that are just come in hot every time. And it is truly my way or the highway. I am an old school, dyed in the wool, Stephen Covey, where everybody, it's a win-win or no deal situation for me. And I've conducted my life that way. I've conducted my careers that way, and it's worked out really well. I mean, I deal with people that are, win-lose and lose-win, but I want everybody at the table to win. I want the buyer to win. I want the seller to win. I want the agents to win. And, you can do that. So let's talk about that. Both can get you to the closing table. You can be I know a badger, and she owns a brokerage now, a really nice brokerage. But man, even just the sound of her name, or seeing my client want to look at one of her listings, and you just pucker all up. It's like, this is going to get Maine right now. So let's talk about the pros and cons of swan versus badger, okay? Swan pros, your client has a smooth, pain-free transaction, right? And that's what we want. We want our clients to go, dang, Thank you. I'm so glad you helped me. I couldn't have done this without you. You were a professional. It was awesome. I'm going to tell everybody I know how great you were, right? Other agents, and I think a lot of times people don't, agents, newer agents, but all other agents don't realize like how small our MLS is, the agents working. I mean, we have now, I think 5,000 or so agents in our MLS, but really 500 of them do most of the work. And you see them over and over again. You burn that agent or you're just a jerk to that agent. They remember. We all have our short list of agents that it's like, I'm just waiting for your next time your offer shows up on one of my listings, I'm going to remember you. So, and then future business from referrals from your clients, right? So if you made it great, if they just went, whew, thank you. That was great. That was awesome. Everything went perfectly. I appreciate all you've done. They're going to tell people. They're going to go out and share that information, right? So let's talk about some of the cons. Done incorrectly, certain clients will feel like you didn't do enough or were overpaid. We've all had those, we've always had those transactions. It's just like, it went so well. It went perfectly, right? And your client's like, dang, this is way easy. I could be a real estate agent. Trained monkey could do that job. It's like, okay, you're welcome. So that's something to think about. And then this is always absorbing all that stress will make you buy the Costco sized bottles of alcohol. I mean, it's this job is stressful, and if we're absorbing all of their stress and everyone else's stress, it has its downsides. So let's talk about the Badger side. All right, Badger pros. You can force others to comply by bullying them. And that when I say others, that others can be your clients. I know of agents. She's like, hey, pretty much sit down, get in, sit down, shut up. I'll let you know when I need your help or when I'm involved with, like I don't need you to say anything. And it's crazy. Your clients will think you went to war for them on every transaction. Like we know agents, like every transactions you're going into, you're fighting a battle, a pitch battle for your life. And that, and they want that, that they want their clients to feel like they are fighting tooth and nail for the transaction. And they'll let their clients essentially feel the full force, the full brunt of all of that stress. And that's your clients will get through it, but man, at the end, I guess, let's see how that goes. And you get paid. Like you can force it. So the con is your client's going to associate you with all that pain. If you made it just so like if you had your client so completely jacked up for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, whatever it is, and you get it done and they're just like, dang, I'm glad we got to the finish line. And you're like, yeah, you are. Because it wasn't for me, you'd have never made it. It's like, they're going to be like, yes, I appreciate it. I don't want to do that ever again. It's like, oh, don't want to do that. And then the other thing is you're going to burn bridges on the other side. Other agents will think twice about working with you the next time. And don't ever think that's not a thing. I mean, the right answer is obviously we're all offers or we're always going to do the right thing by our client. But man, it makes you really like, I don't want to work with that person. So, and creating all that stress will make you buy the Costco sized bottles of alcohol. So, I'd much rather be happy and have a giant bottle of alcohol. So,
Hey, Craig,
yeah.
I got a little story of what I did in the past, and it was always interesting because I completely agree with you 100%. It's like I always told my brokers that sometimes they're gonna, if they feel like you, this is putting it a weird way, but because I've had sometimes where things went so smooth and you handled all the things, I like to have problem solved before you present them, all those kind of things like Joanne said. Sometimes I said, you want your clients to almost, so you kind of wonder what the hell you did. Because that's what happens sometimes when you do it really right. They're like, what did
Yeah.
this guy do? It's like, no, I kept you from all the craziness. We shield you from that because you don't want to stress your people out. And like you were saying, a lot of agents, and they do it, too many, it's like they're explaining all these things that they're doing and all this detail to make themselves look like they're doing work. And all they do is stress their people out and possibly kill the deals. But
Yes.
I had a really weird, because that really kind of, I felt like happened with me and my company for a while. Like sometimes the only comments we got were, man, you guys didn't do much. That seemed went really smooth, but man, I think I could have did that myself or something. I'm like, thank you. This is awesome. That's exactly what
Right.
we want. But
Actually, you did it right when your client says to you later on, like, I think I might get into real estate.
yeah, well, and I've had
Oh,
both. Believe me, I've been the bad agent, I swear, because I was too busy and didn't do what I was supposed to do with anybody. But there's lots of points where it was really good. But I also had a CRM at that time that I loved, and actually I don't do it anymore. But I had a completely, and this was part of my listing. This is kind of part of my listing pitch, which worked hands down every time because it had a back end portal where I could actually have my client log in to our system.
wow.
And I had all the processes really set up, every part of the escrow, every part of everything you can imagine, and painstakingly out in detail of the whole processes. And when those processes happened, the box was checked and it was signed off. And they could actually come in themselves and see our system and see what's being done. And I had a way to actually even email them tasks as they were being done. And it was monotonous. And
Yes.
most people didn't want to do it. But if they ever had any questions, I go, hey, oh, that was my part about the listing part, though, is I would say, hey, we have total transparency. Like you're going to see exactly what's going on in this deal. And that alone right there, like eliminated most of the brokers.
Right. Yeah, that's great. And even for me, one of the things I do, especially when you get into that, like past the big stuff, you're past inspection, you're past title, you're kind of in that last week or two. I'll actually call my clients and I'll say to them, "Hi, I'm calling to tell you I have nothing to report. Like everything's going well." Because oftentimes, one of the things I always ask new clients is like, "What didn't you like about your last transaction?" And almost universally, one of the things they say is they just didn't communicate with me. And so I'll go out of my way to say like, "Hey, I'm calling to report that I have nothing to report."
I learned that the hard way, honestly, for years, because I was top producer, did so many deals. It was like, my attitude was like, I just need to get it done, right? I just need to get it done. And if I get it done, then that's awesome.
Right.
But that doesn't work very well. You definitely got to communicate. So I did it very poorly when I first got going and learned the hard way that had to change. So then I went the opposite and went to I'm going to make sure I have a backup system to make sure this happens
Yeah.
and it's implemented. So even if I can't make a phone call, they're feeling like most of them, when I set them up on that program, they would have me turn it off because it was too much coming at them. And then they believed, okay, yeah, you're busy. It wasn't trying to show how busy we were. It just was keeping in touch with them. But anyways, it was overkill.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So thanks. That's awesome. I appreciate that.
I want to share this real quick before you jump on the next one, because this is something I had to learn, and to keep unnecessary drama. If you're talking with an agent and that about something in the transaction, and that agent relays over to you what their personal opinion is about what is going on before they have talked to their client, do not relay that to your clients.
Yes.
Don't you wait until they talk to their client and then relay, even if it's good news. If you want a roof replaced and you say, hey, we're going to need that replaced, and that agent says, oh, that shouldn't be a problem, don't tell your clients that. Wait until you know where I'm going. So I've had so much problems with that by not doing it. So I just want to share that real quick.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Then it's like, well, what do you mean there? You said, and sometimes depending on what it is, it's like, okay, fine, I'll replace the faucet because the client's not going to. So, all right. Thanks, Jason. That was awesome. So let's talk about tipping off savvy agents. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but I do think, again, this is something that we can telegraph, and we can use this in both ways, but we can inadvertently telegraph to other agents that we're anxious, that we're worried, that we are not sure. So, we really want to make sure that we're not tipping them off, right? when you bring nervous, anxious, or hostile energy to the table, savvy agents will take that and use it to their advantage. I love, love, love it when an agent calls me up and they're like, read me the riot act. Like, I can't believe you did. I can't believe you wrote that. And I can't believe you did. And because all I hear is like, man, you want to get this done, right? You're whacked out over something. So then it's like, oh, hey, let me see what I can do to help you get this. I'm sorry, just doing what my client said. I get it. I don't want you to be mad at me. So, let me help you, help me help you. So this is what I talk about. And this is that we talked about this earlier a little bit. I touched on it, but this balance of power in the transaction. And a lot of this balance of power almost exclusively happens with agents, right? So, and when I talk with my new agents, I have to like almost manually point it out to them in that, we're always trying to figure, there's always somebody is always in charge, right? Somebody's always in charge. And is it you or is it the other agent or are we neutral? Right. And I really wanted you all to sort of pay attention to this now. And because it really is, it's my next slide kind of talks about it. Like, I sense fear in you. Like, there's a disturbance in the force is how I kind of give it to my new agents. Like, you won't understand it. But once you see it and you feel it, you're like, oh, I get this now, And a lot of times, it's something an agent says, or the way they're acting, or the way that they're just coming on so strong, or they're so mad, or the opposite of that. They can just be completely like uninvolved, or like, hey, I'm too busy. I got time for you. It's like you'd be surprised, even just inattention and it's just like, hey, I'm really busy. I don't have time for your stuff, like is a ultimate like power move, right? Because they're just like, hey, I know you have issues. I really don't care about what those are, and I'll let you know when I need your input, right? Giant power move. It's like, oh, all right. So there are, how I'm always trying to like keep the power balanced, and we'll see stuff. I'm gonna give you an example here in a second, but it's like, like when I get my new agents and they'll get something will come in, like they'll get something in the inspection or the way somebody replies, and they're like, that was kind of, why are they like that? I'm like, do you not see it? Do you not see they're trying to move the balance of power they're trying to take the wheel. They're trying to control the moment, and you can let that happen. And sometimes agents don't see it and they let it happen and they get to the end and they're like, that guy, that gal, they were jerks. It's like, why would you say that? Well, they just walked all over me. They just did whatever they want. I'm like, that's what their clients paid them for. Remember, hired gun. I'm here to do dirty work. So, don't you pay attention. I would encourage all my new agents, and I do, it really does. It is sort of like the forest, but man, once you see it, you see it everywhere. There's this, even agents that there's this sort of constant, like, hey, I'm going to do you a favor. That's one of my favorite things. Like, why are you doing this? It's like, okay, hey, I understand it's weird. Let me do you a favor. Let me figure this out. I'm going to do you a favor. I'll get back to you. Hang on. And like, all along, I already had the resolution in my head. I already knew my client. I'm like, hey, all right. Hey, they're perfectly fine with that. Like, you know what? I'm going to just fix the faucet for you. Just go ahead and take that off. I'll bring my guy in to do that. Right. And it's as simple as like that. But it's like all of a sudden that meter just moved. Like, you owe me one now. Like, I took care of it. I fixed your problem. I made this keep moving forward for you. You're welcome. And I'm going to put that in my back pocket. And if things get weird, I'm going to be like, yeah, remember when we did that? So this whole thing takes practice. I want you guys to make sure, if you are working with teams, if you're working with mentors, like, you have to train yourself to be calm and never match their energy, right? If you're not training to do this, if you're not practicing constantly on how to just remain calm, especially when somebody just comes right at you, You know, it's just like it just tears into you. It's like, okay, hey, you know, I got this. You can go home and, cry in your bourbon. But
Hey, Craig,
yeah,
I would really love your insight on this. Have you ever, because I really do try and do the surgeon thing, or let's say the swan now, right?
right. Yeah,
But have you ever had a client that they kind of thrive on that chaos and they thrive on not being the swan? They are the badger themselves.
yes,
So when they see you being calm, they get this sense that you're not fighting for them or
right.
that maybe you don't have their best interest at heart.
Yeah,
So it's kind of a delicate balance, isn't it? Like, how do
it
you
is.
make sure that your badger knows that you're badgering for them without being the badger? There's just, it's,
Yeah. And
it
that's a
really,
communication thing for me. Like I need to like, hey, here's what's happening right now. You understand. And I'm really good with like trying, like I understand where you're at. And I think Steve, we're gonna hit it in a second here, but Chris Voss's book, Never Split the Difference is amazing for that. I have it on one of my slides. Thanks. I can tell where Steve got that. So but yeah, and the other thing I'll do, and I've had this happen, I've had clients just tear into me or rude to me. I have told clients like, hey, just so we're clear, you will never do that to me again. I am not your whipping post. I'm here to help you, but never speak to me again like that. And I'm always surprised how many agents like sometimes just let people kick them all over the place and just treat them like crap. And I've had those happen where client, and I get it, they're stressed out, especially when you get to the end and all, like they've got their new house, they're moving, the truck's out front, and they just snap. And I get it. And I'll be like, hey, I know you're upset. Just for the record, you'll never speak to me like that again, ever. And a lot of times they're like, okay, cool, almost universally, like, got it, we're done. But I'm here to help you. I'm on your team, but we can't win if you're behind me stabbing me in the back. So
On the badger thing, Liz, what I do is I will say, okay, I know, I agree with you. I agree with you. However, my experience shows that that kind of approach isn't helpful. So even though I agree with you and we both are on the same page on what the objective is, I'm going to do it this way because here's what I've seen has worked in the past. And here's what happens when we do it that way. I've done both. And then just talk them through it so that they understand that even though you're not taking their approach, you are still pursuing their interests.
yes, no, that's great insight. I mean, just letting them know I'm here for you and I've got your back, but relax. De-escalating the situation. That's a lot of times for me is a situation taking time for everyone to cool down. I can't tell you how many times I've had agents come charging into my office and like, you are not going to believe what just happened. And oh my God, like, fire drill, everybody run for the exits. It's like, just relax, like settle, take a minute, give everybody time. It'll be fine. Just let it work itself out. And we'll talk about my golden rule here in a second. Okay. And then one of the things I also try and do is like put yourself in the other agent's shoes. So for example, I have a transaction not too long ago that it was a tough one. We got it under contract and tested hot for meth. And this was like an 85-year-old man. It was an estate, so the house had been empty for a couple of years. So somebody went inside, smoked meth. So agent, they tested it. They came back and like, hey, tested hot for meth. And it's like, wow, just like a total gut punch for everybody on our side of the transaction. It's like, okay, hang on. And then right after that, he sent me the inspection objection. And on top of now we've got to deal with meth, which is, who knows how much money that's going to cost. It can just be like a open check. And then he like threw the book at me. He pretty much copy and pasted the inspection objection, the inspection report into the objection. And at the end, he's like, and on top of everything else, I didn't say that, but and also in lieu of all the other stuff we're not going to have to be fixed, we want another $6,500 on top of the $13,500 we already gave you in concessions. It's like, talk about like trying to like the power move needle just went to 11. It's like, okay, great. Hang on. Let me get to my client. I have any idea. We're just trying to process this whole meth thing. Send that inspection over to my client, and man, he just went apoplectic, like just lost his marbles. Like, there just like a steady stream of F-bombs came flying out of his mouth. And it's like, I get it. But he could have just said, hey, like, clearly nobody was ever wanting to deal with meth. This came out of left field. Let me give you some time to get your head around that. Let's get some estimates in so you know what you're up against. Let's push the inspection objection back at least a week. And let's play that out a little bit, and then we'll look at the rest. Right? I mean, if that was me on that side of the equation, man, talk about a opposite power move, right? Hey, let me do you a favor. I know you are up to your eyeballs in alligators all of a sudden with this thing, right? Let me help you. Let's back on. Let's cool things down. Y'all go do your homework and figure out what that looks like, and then we'll go from there. So, something to think about. Never Split the Difference. If you guys haven't read this book, go buy it today. Actually, I would even encourage you more to buy the audiobook. Chris Voss the way he speaks, if you have to hear it. When I first listened to it, I'm like, this guy is going to put me to sleep. He just has the way he speaks is just so calming and deliberate. It comes across as like, but he does it out of a position of power where, it's like, hey, like, I'm here to help you, I got this. There's also a SWAT team and a Bearcat sitting in front of your house. It's probably going to come in and kill you if you don't play along with me. But I'm here to make sure that nothing bad happens to you. And when you listen to that book and you read it, you're just like, oh, all right, I get it. Like, how do I just change your whole demeanor? So great book on that one. So Craig's Golden Rules of Real Estate. And Liz, what time are we? Do we go until?
We are at just about 10 o'clock, 9:57.
When do we
Do you want to
stop?
see if there's any questions up to this?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Questions. See, I'll just keep talking.
I like hearing what you have to say. This is great
Thank you.
stuff.
Yeah.
And it goes till 10:30, Craig.
Okay, perfect. Anybody? All right.
Well, I have a comment.
Okay.
One thing that you haven't really covered, but one of your notes made me think of it.
Mhm.
When the sleazy, gross feeling you get when the other agent, the whole time, the whole transaction, he's going, and you and I want to get paid, right? And you and I, we need to get paid, right? And we're going to get paid, right? And you and me are
Right.
going to get paid. I mean, that's his sole purpose in the whole thing. And it just grosses me out. I can't stand that. I mean, our job is to serve. And when we serve well, we get paid. We don't serve well, we don't get paid. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So it just,
and to take
that's
that one step further, when we serve well and we get paid, we also get more business. So, I mean, I actually just look at it as like, how can I make this person like so happy with what I did that they're going to go out and tell everyone they know, like, you got to work with Craig and you got to work with Kelly. Like, those guys are the real deal. So, I mean, that's, if you're looking at it from your, business growth perspective, it is, yeah, you definitely want to be that person. So let me talk about my golden rules here. So first one is, and they're stupidly simple. Sellers want to sell, right? Sellers want to sell. Buyers want to buy. Agents want to get paid. So stay out of the way, right? I think a lot of times for certain agents, it becomes about the transaction becomes about them. It becomes about like, respect my authority, like I'm in charge. Like this is about me and what I want. And if you don't do what I want, I'm just going to ruin it. you know? And, we all have dealt with those agents, and it's an ego thing, and I get it. And sometimes with those agents, I mean, especially here's some great advice for new agents. One of my first transactions, this is also my managing broker at the time told me, here's what I want you to do when somebody's like, you're new, aren't you? Because, everybody can smell, and old agents can smell new agents a mile away. I mean, it's just off. It's freaking obvious every time. So it's like, and so he goes, here's what I want you to do. I want you to tell them, hey, I'm new. Just so you know, I'm new and I may do dumb stuff. And I would really appreciate it if you would let me know if I'm doing something dumb.
Don't you
And-
think that's such great advice? Because if you're a newer agent and you're willing to just be transparent about that, a veteran's going to take you under their wing, and they
oh,
actually, it makes we're good realtors are a little egotistical. Like, come on, we like nice car. Like, there's a thing, right? And so
right.
if a good agent, a veteran agent hears that you're a new agent and that you want their help, they'll step up to the plate because they love
Oh,
to, spread their feathers and show you how great they are. And so
right.
that's really good advice.
Yeah, I've had agents like go out of their way, like they carried all the water, like, hey, I know this is a little out there. I want to make sure you like they'll just like I got your back, It's like I know you're new. We were all new once. And if you just be that person, it's like and it's crazy. I mean, I say it to my new agents, and they're like, oh, they'll know. I'm like, they know. Like it's obvious by the stuff you're doing, they know. So like you might as well just come clean right up front and like, hey, I'm new.
And
But
also, don't be a new agent who tries to be a know-it-all, because
yeah,
that is like so obvious. I just did a deal with a newer agent, and she's like, you know, asking for all of these closing costs. And she said, well, everybody gets closing costs. And I said, well, I mean, cash buyers don't need closing costs paid. And she goes, oh, I get closing costs on all of my cash buyers. Every single one of my cash buyers I've gotten closing costs for. And I'm like, okay, how many deals have you done? 3. I mean, it's like, don't give me that crap when
yeah,
you're brand new, you haven't done anything, and you're telling me what always happens,
yeah.
that kind of stuff. So don't do that either.
I always love that because it's like, I already looked at your production. Okay, all of your cash clients, huh? So, all right. So yeah, sellers want to sell, buyers want to buy, agents want to get paid. Our job is just to be there to make it all work. So, try and just leave your ego at the door. You're gonna get kicked, you're gonna get punched, you're gonna get rear-ended, like leave it at the door. Your life will be way easier that way. And it just, Badger's a lot of work. So next, talking about vendors. I think this is something I talk about with my new agents as well, is don't kill the messenger, right? We're hiring these people to help us, whether it's on the buy side or, if you're on the listing side, the buyers are hiring these people, and, understand they have a job, they have a role. They also, those are, if they're your people, like don't chew them up. If they're good people, you hired them to do it. Deal with it. Deal with what they're bringing, right? Without them, we can't do our job with excellence. And I think that's something I always want new agents to hear. Like everybody thinks as a new agent, or even some agents just think like, this is all me. I carry all the water here, and everything else is interchangeable. It's like I that couldn't be further from the truth. Like find a great closer, find a great escrow officer, find a great roofer, find a great handyman, and love on those guys. I mean, I take good care of them. Like when they tell you something, don't be like, you're an idiot. No, we're not doing that. It's like, okay, thank you. I appreciate it, because they're going to take care of you. The only reason the most successful agents I know, they are as successful as they are, is because they have surrounded themselves with amazing people, and they let them do their job and stay out of their way. So, find great people, surround yourself with them, let them do their jobs. Sometimes they're going to deliver bad news. That's their job. Don't punish them or berate them for doing what you hired them to do. That's their job.
Craig, I had a seasoned agent. I just started, and I said, what's the secret to your success? I love to ask people in their field that question. And she said, it is all about your database. you start gathering your team and you covet that and you nurture it. And I didn't quite understand it at the time.
Oh
I was
yeah.
like, oh, surely there's other important things. Like that's the thing she's going to pick. That's interesting. But I just didn't get it yet. Right. And
Right.
now I get it. Like I cannot stress it enough. Keep track of the people that you use on every transaction and rate them and understand and ask your clients to tell you if at any reason, if at any point that company didn't service them well.
Yeah.
Because you don't
Yeah.
want to use them again, right? So it's a great way to stay connected to your clients too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And those people will take care of you as well in the future. I think about the best example is like what for me, we're at an age now where we're empty nesters, like we go on vacations and we do a lot of travel. There's nothing better than knowing like your team just closed, we just got something under contract, and I'm sitting on a beach somewhere, it's like that's cool. And I already know like, hey, something just blew up. And my closers, my title people were like, hey, we got you. You're all good. We'll send you the docs to sign. It's taken care of. Like, it's cool. It's like, oh, that's such a good day. Like, thank you. Thank you. So, all right. Lastly, just, stay out of trouble, right? The number one complaint filed against agents is for not acting in the best, across the board around the country is for not acting in the best interest of the consumer or public. Hands down, that's where most of the complaints and where most agents get into some pretty deep trouble. Everything from, training censured to losing your license. So, as hard as it is, sometimes when it's like, man, I need to pay my bills. I need to get some money in the bank. I need to, I need to fill in the blank. I need dollars. All right. Don't fall into the trap of like, I'm just going to fudge that a little bit, or, let's see if we can just nudge this in a way that's probably, a little gray. You never want to play in the gray in this job. It is a dangerous place to be. So, this most often occurs because agents put their interests and finances above their clients and the public. I get it. We're human. We all have bills that we have to pay, but you have to, if you can't do that, from day one and know, like, there are lines I'm not going to cross, this isn't probably the job for you. So, this is the very worst manifestation of commission breath and can end your relationship with your brokerage. Your managing broker, remember, like, you have a certain amount of liability. They have more. If you do dumb stuff and you put them in a situation, they're getting in just as much trouble with the commission or even at their brokerage level, if as you are or more. So this can end your relationship with your brokerage, or it can end your real estate career. And I hate to end on like a little black cloud note, but this really truly is, the worst thing that can happen if you're just not thinking in a sensible way. You could kill your career. And nobody wants to do that. We spent a lot of money getting here. We spent a lot of time and money getting good at this. And it's not worth one mistake to kill it all. So, all right. Question time.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So, yeah, of course, I've got lots of stories, but I think really what it comes back down to is just like you started off with, Craig, and that is you got to start with yourself. So if you have your own emotional intelligence, you've got yourself under control, you know how to manage situations, you're going to come across, whether it's a client, whether it's an agent, doesn't matter. You can do inspector, just like you guys talked about, all the different people and associates involved in this whole transaction process. They're all going to possibly come in with their fires. So really it comes with you being equipped to handle those situations the best. And then on top of it, with your own emotional intelligence, you know when not to answer the phone yourself. So it's not like we're all perfect and we don't have days where we're stressed out and we've got so much going on. And then we pick up the phone and and we're not in our right state of mind. And then we're reacting, and we're talking a certain way. And then afterwards we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that on the phone. And, it's something that I have, I know that Joanne and some others here on the call have mentored people. And it's one thing that I've always said, if anybody's come to me with oh my gosh, I just got off the phone with somebody and I was so bad. I acted like this and I did that. And I said, okay, well, the first thing you need to do is you need to pick the phone back up. You need to give them a call. You need to apologize because they didn't come at you. You went at them. They didn't, you were the one having the bad day. They weren't having the bad day. And so it's just taking your own ownership to situations. And just like you talked about with staying in rapport with agents, they're going to respect you a lot more to say, yeah, my bad. It's having a bad moment. Us women, we always have excuses, men, maybe not so much, but we're like, sorry.
No, we're married to you.
That moment. I'm just not in the right state of mind right now. So anyway, really, and I'm glad you brought up Chris Voss. I love him. And you're right about the way he talks, his DJ voice is how he refers to it, his DJ voice, late night DJ voice.
Yes.
I love listening to him. And it's just so funny because you just enjoy listening to him. Just like you said, like, it doesn't matter what he's saying. So everybody's outside and they might come in and kill you, but, so he's awesome to listen to. But listen to his book, or, read his book. I listened to tons of his videos. He's got tons of content out there. Talked about him last week on Micro 90. So he is amazing. So I think it really does start with you. And then when you've got that under control, you can manage things a lot better for everybody.
Yeah. And I have to say, Christine, where you're sitting, the thing it looks like you're wearing a little heart tiara on your head.
Oh.
So that just makes it even more, at first I was like, oh, she's wearing a crown.
Hearts and hearts. That's what I have,
a crown on.
Which is very fitting.
Yes.
I love hearts, so yeah.
That's right.
All right, guys. Thanks so much, Craig.
Yes, thank you. Sellers must be someplace warm.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm at the beach. Craig, one of the things I keep thinking about is that, we talk about emotion intelligence, we talk about stressful situations, and realizing that, most of the time, one of the things is that agents often run into stressful situations, and they're often calling us because of their stress. They don't quite know how to handle situations. And the big deal is to think about, do I have to answer their phone call right away? Because most of the time, if you don't answer an agent's phone call, they will solve their problem themselves in an hour.
Right.
So it's that thing about deciding, I don't have to jump into somebody else's problem. I don't have to solve every problem quickly. What am I staying focused on that I'm doing? Right? What is that decision of what I'm doing right now? And my wife said I should have put a shirt on, but I didn't. I'm sorry.
Nope,
So, I'm so unprofessional. I'm sorry. I'll go only my head, not my hair.
They're over here asking if you have a wool sweater on.
Hey,
I
come
really
on.
wanted to
No.
tease
I'm only
him.
my
It's like,
head now.
sweater.
Sorry, guys.
Well,
But that's the thing that we talk about is
Started
that,
texting privately.
enjoying people's. One of the biggest things we have to do is not only control our own emotions, but not let and so that's part of it is not letting other people's emotions control us. And it's hard because most of us are people pleasers. Most of us in real estate want to serve people. And that's not only the client. We're wanting to get along with the agents. We want to do all this. They're upset. So we don't want them to be upset. So we want to solve their problems quickly versus realizing that distraction will stop us from making those extra calls that we need to do to keep our business growing. Joanne and I had a conversation yesterday, and I'll share just a little bit about it, nothing personal in it, but just the idea that, right now, I was telling Joanne that so many agents are struggling right now. They're not that busy. And while I find what happens is lack of busyness creates lack of busyness often. So it's weird. When we're busy, we get busier. When we're slower, we just end up being slower and people aren't doing productive things. And I said, one of the things that we can do now with our mental is shut our phones off from taking messages. Don't look at our email. If you're slow, focus for 2 hours. Don't do anything but focus on what needs to be done. And if you get that done, don't worry about doing anything else for the rest of the day, but you've accomplished something. But the key on that is don't get caught up in other people's fire doing that. Shut off that phone. Don't get into their, don't let that one deal you have take all of your time, because it will. And agents are trying to get you into that fire.
Right.
So just focus for those couple hours. Then you can deal with those fires. But shut off the phone, shut off all your announcements. Don't answer the phone for 2 hours. Do things proactively and then be done. And I tell you, so many people are struggling today. If they actually did that, they'd start seeing their business grow again. Because, man, it's weird how one deal, when you're struggling, when you're not busy, one deal can occupy all your time.
Yes. Yeah. No, I completely agree, John. And I think, having, and one of the things I want to touch back at the Swan versus Badger as well, which is there are times when there's no a 100% I'll be a Badger. I mean, especially never with my clients, unless they're rude to me. But, with other clients, I've had multiple situations where I see Steve smiling because I love Steve Heron. I don't know if you all know him. He's probably the nicest guy on the planet. And every once in a while, he'll come in my office and he'll be like, "What should I do?" I'm like, "You want me to call him?" Like, let's kill him. Like, it's like, let's go. But there are times when I have no problem ripping into somebody, especially another agent who's doing something dumb. And that's a power move in and of itself. But yeah. So
I'm glad you said that, because I was sitting here thinking that, looking back at how I am in transactions, and there's a time to be a Badger.
Yes.
And the art is knowing when that time has come.
Right.
Right. Because you do have to stand up for your clients, and you do have to put people in their place, and you do, there's a time to say, like, I'm just trying to keep this together. Because if your client's getting ready to walk out the door and you're not really expressing the fact that this is it, like, we're going to get what we need now, or we're moving on, like, there is a time to be a Badger. So I'm really glad you said that, because it's so true.
There's a quote, and it talks about, like, being a warrior. And, the strength in being a warrior is knowing how to be a warrior, but not. So maybe it's, they use the same analogy, knowing how to be a Badger, but not. Knowing, because then you're really coming from a position of strength. You're not coming from a position of like, oh, please, like, I whatever I have to do to get this done, I'll do that. And it's funny because that same agent I gave you the example of that kind of threw the whole kitchen sink at us plus $6,500. I actually called them up and I said, "Hey, got your objection. I just want to make sure I understand everything you kind of went through." And I said, "And at the end here, you want us to give you an additional $6,500?" And I just shut up. I didn't say anything. And it was this sort of awkward silence for a few seconds. And then he's like, "That's what my client wanted. They wanted to do more, but that's what they wanted, but sorry."
There's a difference too between being a Badger and being emotional and yelling.
Yes.
Because there isn't a circumstance where you should be yelling at someone, unless they got a hold of you, right? You can be calm and be a Badger, in my opinion.
Right. Well, and I think that's a power play as well, that they can get you so frustrated that you kind of pop a rivet and blow off at them. Then it's like, then they're in control now. They got to you. So, it's like, never let them see you sweat. It's like you go home and kick the dog. No, just don't kick the dog. All right. Other questions?
I was
going to say something.
Say it again.
I was going to say something just in regard to like new agent, old agent, like seasons agent. When I first started, I'm like almost 2 years in, I got in a situation where it was like it was my third transaction. So it was like getting close. And the gentleman, he is like what I call old school agent. So like, I was like, he like started talking with us and stuff. He blatantly said, "I don't want to work with you. I want to work with your lead." So I was like, oh, well, I was doing very well with my client and everything. So I kept on and kept on. And still to this day, sometimes I wish I stepped back away from that agent, let my lead take care of it, because I didn't want to have no like animosity or any type. If that's the way he felt, that's the way he felt. But I felt like he took away from me as being a new agent to really take on that role, taking care of my client fully. But my client knew that we were both representing him, that we were both going to take care of him, just explain the situation. And sometimes I look back at that still to this day and think, man, he was just a little bugger. Like, I don't
But
even know
that's
how
a
to
giant, you see it now, right? It's a giant power move, right? Like he put you on your heels. Like
Yeah.
I guarantee you were like, oh damn, like, and then he was in control. And sometimes that's hard to do. And it's like, but you can just as easily like, hey, I respect you. I know you've been doing this a long time. I respect your opinion, but no, you're not, you got me, and we're gonna get this to the finish line. That's hard to say as a new agent, but looking back, that's I'm sure I'm sure you have a whole lot of things you wish you had said in retrospect, but yeah. And the other thing I would say to you, and that's great, it is great. We've all had that moment and I even say this with my kids, like that person was a jerk. And I always say, remember that, right? Because you're at someday, you're obviously, Jackie, doing really well now. At some point, you're going to be in the same situation, and man, what an opportunity for you to be like, hey, I know you're new, and I appreciate how hard you're working, and I let me help you with a few things, and we'll get this to the finish line. I mean, what a difference that would have made in your world, right?
Most definitely. That's what I think now is like, I look back and I think, oh, the things I would have said that I wish I wouldn't have walked away. But it's at that same point, I was new. And so I felt it's not about me. It's about the people that I'm taking care of.
Right.
So to diffuse the situation, I just stepped back and let her take care of the paperwork and communication with him and let it be. Because I know that on my end, my client was getting very well taken care of. So I just let be who he is. But I definitely, as a newer agent, I'm gonna look when his name ever comes across, I'm gonna be like, whoa.
Yeah. We all have that list of like, oh, I remember you.
You know why you did that, Jackie? It's because just because you're new doesn't mean you're not professional.
Right.
You can remain professional no matter how many times you've done this, right? And that all goes back to the swan and the surgeon. So good job.
Yeah, and sometimes, especially as a new agent, you got to kiss the ring, and like I get it. I know and I do feel like I said it before, but hey, if I'm messing up, please let me know. Tell me how I can do this better. I respect you, and it sucks because you may be like, you're a jerk, but it's like if you can sort of muster up the courage to do that, man, I tell you what, it'll instantly change the entire demeanor of the conversation. Any other questions, folks? Come on, I know you have them.
Good stuff this morning, Craig.
Sure. Oh, thank you. All right, gang. Well, I'm going to throw it back over to Liz, and I'll let her wrap up. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the feedback and all the love we get from the community. Love being here, love teaching, love sharing what little I know.
This is really, really great. It's stuff that you can't really, it can be difficult to explain to someone that's new.
Yeah.
And I think you did it really, really well. And there's agents very likely in this room, because there's so many of us that just really needed to hear this. You just really brought it, to the surface and explained it in a way that made it easy to wrap our heads around. So we appreciate that.
Oh, well, thank you. You're very kind.
Yeah. Jeff and Lexi are not with us, but of course they want me to remind you to register for EXPCon. That's the end of October. If you hadn't had the chance to go to EXPCon, it is an experience of a lifetime. And it's in Miami this year, so it's an excuse to get warm and just see our fellow community partners and make those relationships and referrals happen. So I know we'll be sending out a recording of today, which is fabulous because this is worthy of one that we can listen to again and share with people that weren't able to make it today. And I'm so thankful that the people that are here did show up to to help support Craig. And it's always a pleasure, Craig. Thank you so much.
Thank you, very kind. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Okay, I hope you all have a good day.
Bye, thanks. Good job.